You know what's one of the craziest campaigns I ever seen in American politics is when millionaires like AOC, Robert Reich, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren get up and they say, tax the rich constantly. But when we show data, which I'm gonna show you right now, you're gonna be blown away by this. You ready?
All right, Patrick Bet-David, who of course is the host of the Patrick Bet-David podcast, a podcast Cenk and I have both been on, put out this video trying to debunk the narrative coming from the left in regard to how we need to tax the rich. Before we get to more of the video, I just want to note, I don't think that AOC is a millionaire. The others listed, I think, might be. I know that Bernie Sanders made $1 million off of a book he wrote following the 2016 presidential election. Elizabeth Warren, I'm pretty sure, is pretty well to do. I don't think AOC is rich.
No, unless something happened drastically in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
No, it's not fake. She was an actual bartender when she won Congress. She's not anywhere near a millionaire.
Also, if millionaires in Congress are urging or pushing for higher taxes for millionaires, that's not a bad thing. Does it make you a hypocrite to be a millionaire who wants to pay higher taxes?
No, that's the opposite of being a hypocrite. That drives me crazy. They're like, look at this rich person who says that rich should pay more taxes. What a terrible, no, that's not a terrible person, that's a good person. That's not a hypocrite, that's a person saying, no, even when I am rich, I'm still in favor of higher taxes. That's actually being principled.
So he makes a really interesting point in this video where he argues that our political system is broken, which leads to certain loopholes and deductions that the rich can take advantage of to dodge their responsibility in paying taxes to the federal government. We'll get to that in a moment. But he introduces the idea around 5 minutes into the video by recounting a now infamous confrontation between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And I'm guessing this is during the 2016 presidential election. I haven't seen this part of the video yet. Let's watch.
She says, you know, all the money and the tax loopholes, and he hasn't paid any taxes and all this other stuff. And then Trump says, I'm sorry, you've been here for 30-something years, and how come those loopholes are still there? He says, all your donors take advantage of the same loopholes I'm taking. Why is it if you care so much about middle America, you haven't done anything about it for 35 years? Most of her money's coming from rich people. But she gives them loopholes that, don't worry, you ain't gonna pay that kind of taxes. This loophole and that loophole and this, it's gonna save you all this money. It's gonna be okay. But I'm gonna get out there and trash the rich while taking all the super PAC money from you.
Trump was right. He was right about that.
No, absolutely. But wait, he's conflating two different things. First of all, Hillary Clinton is not in the same wing of the party as Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and AOC. Those wings of the party fight. And so the Hillary Clinton wing isn't talking about taxing the rich. And if they do, they're totally lying.
So that is true. That is true. But I think it's important to also keep in mind that when it comes to campaigning, like think about campaign Obama versus actual Obama.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Campaign Obama is hope and change, and we need to close these tax loopholes. People need to pay their fair share. Once he's elected, campaign Obama goes away, corporatist Obama is here to stay. Right?
That is definitely true, and Obama is the best case of that. But again, the point he's making is ironic because he's saying, well, these politicians are liars and they don't actually want to close the loopholes. Well, I agree with that. But that doesn't mean we should keep them open. That means we should actually close the loopholes.
In fact, twice more during this video, PBD repeats that notion that yes, corrupt politicians have obviously rigged our tax system to the benefit of the rich and their wealthy donors, but there's nothing, but okay, so I don't want to put words in his mouth. Let's watch another example of him saying this in the video and then we'll respond.
As much as it's easy to say, well, the 0.01% doesn't pay that much taxes because they're no longer taking income the way they do, and they have better tax planning strategies behind closed doors that use the same codes that all these politicians claim don't want the rich to take advantage of. You came up with these policies. Yes, we can sit there and say, well, you know, I don't think this is cool. Why don't we, raise the taxes on these guys? Fine. Then why don't we go back to when the tax code was only 6 pages back in 1913? Small couple pages, 100,000 pages today. Let's rip the whole thing apart. Let's start from the beginning. Let's get rid of all these loopholes. Well, no. It's going to impact some of you, by the way, just so you know that as well.
By the way, one of the politicians who purported to want to do away with those loopholes was Donald Trump. And in 2017, he did the exact opposite. He actually lowered the tax rate for corporations and the rich while keeping those deductions and loopholes in place, even though he promised he was going to close those loopholes. And he also claimed that he was going to simplify the tax code. That did not happen. It was made even more complicated. And a lot of people who are middle-class workers, and in some cases, just barely holding on to middle class, ended up paying higher taxes, especially if you end up living in high tax states like California, for instance.
So, I mean, we talk about the hypocrisy of Hillary Clinton. We're perfectly happy to admit that. We chose to even mention Obama here as being more hypocritical, and that's a sacred cow for Democrats. Let's see if the Republicans and the right wing are willing to do the same. Donald Trump, all he did was serve the rich and giant corporations. So why didn't he take away any of the loopholes that they used to cheat? Why did he keep them in there? Well, he kept them in there because he's also rich, and all of his donors are giant corporations and the wealthy. So Donald Trump not only did the same thing as Hillary Clinton, but worse, because he cut corporate taxes down to 21%. For his top donor, Sheldon Adelson, he brought repatriation tax down from 35% to 8%, so that Adelson could take the billions of dollars he had made in China with casinos in Macau and bring them back home at a tiny, tiny rates. That is the biggest loophole there is. And he did that for his donors because he's a corrupt bitch. So let's be honest about the politicians, including Donald Trump. He's a fake populist, doesn't mean a word of it. All he ever did was serve the rich.
So later in the video, PBD gets into this argument that we've heard many times before about how tax cuts are good actually, especially for the rich, because they're the job creators. Let's watch.
It's a way to scare the crap out of billionaires, and it's a way to get the poor to say, yes, let's punish the rich, let's punish the job creators. These are very bad people and evil people in reality. You punish them, you know who the hell's gonna create jobs? Who? They would much rather get up there and talk trash about the people who are actually willing to do the labor of risking their savings, risking everything they have to build a business, to create jobs for others. They don't wanna do that. If we can sit there and have a reasonable, fair conversation to not destroy job creators, to give an opportunity for people to increase their lifestyle and call out the BS habits that some people have. If we can put that together, then we can work somewhere and start making some progress.
So look, are there people out there who go the extra mile and argue that the rich are evil and they focus on that more than the actual cogent argument that they should be making? Yes. I don't think that we're making that argument. The argument that I want to make is, no, I don't want wealthy people to be treated unfairly, but I don't think that it's fair for working class Americans to pay a higher percentage of their income toward taxes compared to the most privileged wealthy people in the country. It's just unfair, right? And so I want to give you examples of what happened following Trump's 2017 tax cuts for the rich. Because the argument that tax cuts lead to more jobs is unfounded. For instance, AT&T's CEO Randall Stephenson promised in November of 2017 to invest $1 billion in capital expenditure and create 7,000 new jobs at the company if Trump's hugely controversial tax cut bill passed. But instead of creating jobs and increasing investment into the company, AT&T has eliminated 23,328 jobs since the tax cut bill has passed or was passed, according to a recent report by the Communications Workers of America. If you look at the total share of the country with jobs, the employment to population ratio, nothing happened after the tax cut passed. It had been growing since the end of the Great Recession, and it continued growing at the exact same rate after the tax cut was passed until COVID-19 hit. So that's another example. If you look at the bigger picture, instead of focusing on one company, there was really no change in job creation. And finally, companies put much of the money towards stock buybacks rather than investments. Buybacks hit a record $1 trillion in 2018, a nearly 50% increase from the year before. So that's the reality of the situation. But with that said, I will say this. As someone who has no problem paying my fair share in taxes, it is becoming increasingly unbearable to see the mismanagement and the misuse of our resources. It is incredibly frustrating to see how Americans get neglected, even though they're paying into the system, as forever wars continue to get funded year after year with absolutely no debate in Congress. It is incredibly frustrating to hear the President of the United States nickel and dime the American people while simultaneously demand $106 billion for wars abroad. So I get the frustration about how the government manages our resources and misuses our funds. If that weren't the case, I would be a little less salty about getting taxed. But right now, at this current moment, I'm real salty about taxes, and I get where people are coming from.
Okay, so look, we're principled, and I'm gonna do it again. Biden says, we have to protect the semiconductor industry in America, and because they're gonna bring home jobs. But he put no guardrails in the bill. So Intel gets the money. They overall $54 billion went to that industry from us, the taxpayers. They took money out of your paycheck to give to these giant corporations. And you know what Intel did immediately after the bill passed? Fired 6,000 people. So they're liars. All those corporations are liars. And under Trump, did it happen? All the time, dozens of stories. Trump goes out and goes, I'm going to create jobs by fluffing this corporate donor, right? And then afterwards they fire everyone. So look, I know the uniparty is hopeless, both on the corporate Democrats and corporate Republicans. But on the left wing, we're principled and we call out Biden and Trump. Right wing, can you do the same thing? Is it possible? Or is Donald Trump so beloved that you don't care how many Americans were fired? You don't care that all he did was deliver for corporations and the rich. You're just gonna be like, no, the beloved cannot be questioned, right? No, they're both corrupt. It's obvious. Now, when it comes to taxes, like if the left, some people say eat the rich. That's ridiculous. And so we're not in that camp. But are most Democrats going around punish job creators? No, we're looking for fairness. When Amazon makes $1 trillion and pays $0 in taxes, that isn't about punishing job creators. That's about pay your goddamn taxes. I pay my taxes, you pay your taxes. Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world. How come that son of a bitch isn't paying taxes? Close the goddamn loopholes. Let's get some fairness in here. You know that 76% of Americans want to raise taxes on the rich? Is it because they hate the rich? No, it's because they have the correct feeling that the rich are not paying their fair share, and especially because of those loopholes. And last thing is, I'll double down what Anna said. Look, guys, we have so many fights over what the taxes should be, but not enough fights about what we spend the taxes on.
Yes.
So now the Pentagon says, yeah, I can't find $400 billion. I didn't pass the audit, and I'm not gonna find it. I gave it to my defense contractor friends. Support the troops, don't question the Pentagon, right? No, I question the Pentagon. Where the hell's our money? Where did the $400 billion go? We're gonna send more money to Israel and Ukraine and everyone else. But no, when it comes to you and your kids, we ran out of money. Did you? Or are you just giving it to your buddies who donated to you, whether they're oil companies, banks, defense contractors, and Hillary? And if you're a Democrat and you don't think Hillary Clinton served those bankers, wake up, please wake up. You see, the Clintons went into office broke, came out with $150 million. As a coincidence? Come on.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.